You work tirelessly at your job. Late nights, missed weekends, going above and beyond. Yet when review time comes, your boss shrugs. You're just doing what we pay you for. Now picture your romantic relationship. Your partner expects loyalty, sacrifice, and emotional labor, but reacts to your efforts with the same indifference. That's just your job as a boyfriend-husband. This is the appreciation gap, the invisible force eroding millions of relationships. It's the chasm between what you feel you deserve for your efforts and what you actually receive. And left unchecked, it breeds resentment, apathy, and even infidelity. But here's the twist: both men and women are fueling this gap without realizing it. And the solution isn't about working harder. It's about rewiring how we value each other. Every day, relationships crumble under the weight of unspoken expectations. Partners silently tally their sacrifices, waiting for acknowledgement that never comes. Meanwhile, the other person wonders, why should I praise you for doing the bare minimum? This disconnect isn't just petty bickering. It's a fundamental mismatch in how we perceive effort versus obligation. And it's rooted in two brutal truths. Human nature defaults to undervaluing others' contributions. We instinctively overestimate our own sacrifices while dismissing our partners. Modern relationships often operate on punishment, not reward. Loyalty is expected, but rarely celebrated. Straying, however, brings nuclear consequences. Nowhere is this more evident than in the arena of sexual exclusivity, a flashpoint that exposes the appreciation gap in its rawest form. No one thanks their partner for not cheating, but infidelity sparks outrage. The unspoken tension in relationships often stems from a fundamental disconnect, a gap between what we believe we deserve and what we actually receive. This invisible divide grows wider with each passing day, fed by silent expectations and unnoticed efforts. At its core lies a simple but powerful truth. People need to feel valued, yet we routinely fail to show that value to those closest to us. Consider how most relationships operate. One partner makes sacrifices, some large, some small, while the other carries on unaware. The working parent who misses their child's recital to provide for the family. The spouse who bites their tongue during an argument to keep the peace. The boyfriend who turns down drinks with friends to spend time with his girlfriend. These acts, often performed without fanfare, represent real emotional labor. Yet when these efforts go unrecognized, resentment begins to take root. The problem intensifies when we examine sexual exclusivity. For many men, remaining faithful requires genuine effort, a daily choice to ignore temptations and opportunities. In their minds, each resisted temptation represents a small victory, a proof of commitment. Yet their partners often view this same behavior as simply meeting basic expectations. "Why should I thank you for not cheating on me?" becomes the unspoken refrain. This mismatch in perception creates fertile ground for discontent. Women face their own version of this dynamic. The mental load of managing household affairs, remembering birthdays, and maintaining social connections often falls disproportionately on them. When these efforts go unnoticed, the frustration builds. "I shouldn't have to ask for appreciation," becomes the silent complaint. Both partners find themselves keeping score, waiting for the other to recognize their contributions first. This pattern reveals an uncomfortable truth about human nature. We are terrible at objectively evaluating our own efforts versus those of others. Psychological research shows we consistently overestimate our own contributions while underestimating our partners. This cognitive bias ensures the appreciation gap persists unless consciously addressed. The solution lies not in grand gestures, but in small, consistent acts of recognition. When a partner cooks dinner, a simple, "This tastes amazing, thank you," reinforces positive behavior. When they handle an unpleasant task, acknowledging, "I know you didn't want to do that, I appreciate it," validates their effort. These moments of appreciation accumulate, creating an environment where both partners feel seen and valued. For those feeling chronically underappreciated, the path forward requires honest self-reflection. Are your sacrifices truly selfless, or do you secretly expect recognition? If the latter, it may be time to either communicate your needs clearly or reconsider whether those sacrifices are worth making. Resentment flourishes in the space between expectation and reality, Meanwhile, those on the other side of the gap benefit from adopting a mindset of generous interpretation. Assume your partner's actions reflect positive intent, even when imperfect. Look for opportunities to validate efforts you might normally take for granted. The security that comes from feeling appreciated makes people more likely to go the extra mile willingly. In relationships where infidelity looms as a concern, the dynamic shifts from prevention to cultivation. Rather than focusing solely on the consequences of cheating, partners can create positive incentives for faithfulness. This doesn't mean rewarding basic human decency, but rather creating an environment where commitment feels like an active choice rather than an obligation. When loyalty brings emotional intimacy, physical connection, and mutual growth, the temptation to stray diminishes naturally. The healthiest relationships operate on a principle of mutual reinforcement. Like gardeners tending delicate plants, partners must nurture what they want to grow. Criticism may prune unwanted behaviors, but only appreciation makes the good behaviors flourish. This doesn't require constant praise or lowered standards, just consistent recognition that your partner's efforts matter. Ultimately, bridging the appreciation gap requires abandoning the myth that love should be unconditional. All human relationships thrive on reciprocity. The partner who feels valued becomes more valuable. The one who feels seen becomes more present. What begins as conscious effort transforms into natural habit, creating a virtuous cycle of mutual appreciation. The work is simple but not easy. It demands vulnerability to express needs and generosity to meet them, but the reward, a relationship where both partners feel truly valued, makes the effort worthwhile. In the end, we all want the same thing: to know our love matters. Showing that same recognition to our partner may be the most loving act of all. The choice lies before each of us every day, to notice or overlook, to appreciate or take for granted. Those small decisions accumulate into the story of our relationships. What story do you want to tell? You've spent years building what looks like the perfect relationship from the outside. You're faithful, responsible, and consistently show up for your partner. Yet something feels hollow. There's an invisible wall between you, built brick by brick from all the times your efforts went unnoticed, all the sacrifices that were taken for granted. This isn't about grand betrayals or explosive fights. It's about the slow erosion of connection that happens when appreciation goes missing. This is the appreciation gap, the silent relationship killer that's far more dangerous than any affair or dramatic breakup. It's the growing chasm between what partners believe they deserve and what they actually receive. And left unchecked, it creates relationships where both people feel simultaneously overworked and undervalued, where love becomes a transaction rather than a connection. The truth is, human beings are wired to notice what's missing far more than what's present. We remember the one criticism amidst 100 compliments. We fixate on the single forgotten anniversary rather than years of remembered birthdays. This negativity bias served our ancestors well for survival, but in modern relationships, it's a recipe for chronic dissatisfaction. Nowhere does this play out more clearly than in the arena of sexual exclusivity. For many men, remaining faithful requires genuine effort, saying no to opportunities, resisting temptations, consciously choosing commitment daily. In their minds, each resisted temptation is a small victory. Yet their partners often view this same behavior as simply meeting basic expectations. "Why should I thank you for not cheating on me?" becomes the unspoken refrain that poisons the well of goodwill. Women face their own version of this dynamic, the invisible labor of maintaining relationships, remembering important dates, managing household logistics. These efforts often go unnoticed until something slips through the cracks. The mental load carried is real and exhausting, yet when brought up, it's often met with, "But that's just what women do," or "I never asked you to do that." This mutual blindness to each other's efforts creates what psychologists call an emotional ledger imbalance. Both partners keep mental accounts of what they've contributed versus what they've received, and both inevitably feel shortchanged. The tragedy is that in most cases both are right, not because their partner is deliberately withholding appreciation, but because we're all terrible at seeing efforts that don't mirror our own. The solution begins with understanding that appreciation isn't about keeping score or demanding praise for basic decency. It's about creating a culture of noticing in your relationship small, specific acknowledgments. I saw how you handled that difficult situation with my parents. You were so patient. Or, I know you're tired, but you still made time for us tonight. These moments act like emotional deposits that build relationship resilience. For those feeling chronically underappreciated, there's a difficult but necessary question to ask. Are my sacrifices truly selfless, or do I secretly expect recognition? There's no shame in needing validation. We're social creatures wired for connection. But pretending we don't need it while resenting its absence creates exactly the toxic dynamic we want to avoid. The healthiest approach is to make appreciation a practice rather than a demand. Start by modeling the behavior you want to see, not as manipulation, but because changing any relationship dynamic begins with changing your own actions first. When you consistently acknowledge your partner's efforts without keeping score, you create an environment where appreciation flows more naturally in both directions. This is especially crucial when it comes to maintaining sexual exclusivity. The reality is that monogamy works best when it's a positive choice, rather than just the avoidance of negative consequences. Partners who feel seen, valued, and desired have far less motivation to stray than those who feel taken for granted or trapped by obligation. For women wanting to strengthen their partner's commitment, the answer isn't about surveillance or threats. It's about creating positive associations with faithfulness. This doesn't mean rewarding basic human decency, but rather ensuring that your relationship offers emotional and intimate rewards that make loyalty feel like winning rather than just not losing. The same principle applies to men wanting to be better partners. Recognizing your girlfriend or wife's emotional labor, the remembering of birthdays, the maintaining of social connections, the anticipating of needs, and acknowledging these efforts goes much further than flowers or grand gestures ever could. Ultimately, bridging the appreciation gap requires abandoning the myth that love should be unconditional. All healthy relationships thrive on reciprocity. The partner who feels valued becomes more valuable. The one who feels seen becomes more present. What begins as conscious effort transforms into natural habit, creating a virtuous cycle where both people feel truly appreciated. The work is simple but not easy. It requires vulnerability to express your needs and generosity to meet your partners. It means letting go of resentment about past slights while clearly communicating what you need moving forward. Most importantly, it demands that we all become better noticers of the small kindnesses, the quiet sacrifices, the daily choices that make love more than just a word. Because in the end, the appreciation gap isn't just about fairness, it's about survival. Relationships where both partners feel valued flourish. Those where appreciation goes missing wither. The choice is ours to make every day, in every interaction. Will we be the partner who notices, or the one who takes for granted? The answer determines everything.